Hey everyone, I'm Tanya Franklin, and welcome to Tricks My Dog Taught Me, a podcast for lighthearted and occasional deep conversations with family and friends revolving around my journey as a dog mom to my little guy, Zach the Toy Poodle, which prompted me to self-publish my first book, Shit My Dog Taught Me, where I share some of my insights through poetry and weekly life lessons. Today is a very special milestone. Back in our very first episode, I sat down with my daughter, Quinn, and she officially stepped into teenage years last month in May 2026. And so excited. So in week 1, we talked about how Zach loves interacting with others and how the people around us impact our lives and choices. And today, we're going to be looking at a poem from my book called Chosen. And this poem is a sonnet, and it explores respect, our roles with our squad, pack, or crew, and what it truly means to be a leader. And who better to talk about packs and leadership than my favorite co-researcher who helped pick out our toy poodle back in 2020 of August, the now 13-year-old Quinn. So Quinn, welcome back to the podcast. Definitely glad to have you again. So what I want to do first is share the poem with you and our pack of listeners before we get into our conversation. Chosen. Showing deference or simply respect through what you declare and actions you do can direct you in ways you least expect, collectively in your squad, pack, or crew. Not to fret if you require more time to determine what should be your main role. When you feel that you are definitely primed, building a strong unit should be the goal. Sometimes it's not about visual skills, but what you possess beneath the surface, going into the valleys and climbing hills. These explorations are far from worthless, manifested through your own devotion. Are leaders made or by others chosen? So, in my sonnet, I mentioned showing deference or simply respect and how it can direct you in ways you least expect collectively in your squad, pack, or crew. So, Quinn, you're my only child,
Yes.
but you have a fur brother, Zach, for nearly 6 years now, since the 2020 pandemic, and you two sometimes even squabble like siblings. If our little 3-person plus 1 dog family was a literal wolf pack or dog pack, what do you think would be the specific role for different people? Like who's the boss, who's the protector, and maybe where does Zach fit in the hierarchy?
So, based on how Zach acts in everyday life, I feel like he'd want to be the boss. He tries to be the boss, even though he's just a tiny little dog. He walks around, he'll bark at you, try to demand stuff from you, even though it seems like he does not realize how tiny he is. And I feel like you might be like, kind of like leader, directions, like where to find places to navigate around, places to stay, and like a place to call home. They don't know what I'd do. I'd probably just be tag teaming with Zach.
Okay, all right.
And Daddy, I think he'd probably be like some type of researcher. Like if we found a place to stay, he'd probably like research the climate or something. See if it was a good place to stay.
Okay. All right. So in our first episode, you famously said that if you were a dog, you'd be a Shih Tzu because you said they look nice and that they don't necessarily care what others think. Now that you're officially 13, do you still feel like a Shih Tzu would be the dog breed for you as an inner breed, or has that shifted since then?
No, I feel like it still is because still being in middle school, like it's like a time in your life where there's going to be a lot of people who are going to judge you for stuff. Like I haven't personally encountered a lot of people judging me or anything, but I know a lot of people who have been judged.
Mhm.
So I still feel like even when people like do judge me for stuff, I really do not care
Yeah.
cuz like I'm not really all for other people's opinions.
Okay.
Like unless I ask you for an opinion, I really don't
Wow. Wow.
care.
If only I were that way. Oh, wow. So the poem, it talks about how we should respect our squad, packer crew. And at 13, you mentioned how you don't necessarily care about other people's opinions, but I'm sure you have a friend group. And that can be complex, especially not even just in magically it happens when you turn 13. Maybe it was starting before then, or it will continue on that path. And so I'm just wondering, how do you and your closest, your friends, show respect for each other's differences? Because even though you might say, I don't care about their opinion, still you might have differences, and to show respect for them and to still stay in that tight unit.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of make sure that we're recognizing the other person's point of view or just avoid the topic altogether. If
Mhm.
it's something that you know you guys have like differences in and you know that it could start an argument if you guys start talking about it, then just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Or like if the conversation comes up, just approach it in a respectful way. You don't
Mhm.
have to coming at anybody.
Mhm.
You just approach it in a respectful way.
Well, how? Like, what's an example? Like, is there something where you were like, "Oh, man, I know they don't like this," or they realized it was something that maybe it was touchy for you?
I mean, I haven't really personally experienced anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a more broad answer for me because I haven't personally experienced it
Okay, all right.
before. So,
You're lucky. You're lucky. I wish that I could say the same. I know definitely even before teenagehood, that some people who I thought were closest friends, they decided to get into different activities that I wasn't interested in. And when I say activities, I don't mean they want to play a sport I don't like. I mean some stuff that I knew was wrong, whether it was using a lot of profanity when I was younger, that was never my thing, or cutting school, or even like for some, when we're talking 13, 14, some kids, even that young, they start experimenting with different drugs and things like that. And people saying, "Oh," I mean, I know it sounds like some after school special, but a person might say, "You're not cool if you don't do this." And I'd just be like, "I guess I'm just not cool." So in that case, I didn't necessarily, I won't say I didn't care about their opinion because I wanted them to like me, but I didn't care enough to do what they wanted me to do. So when things would get complex and I would say, "Oh, geez, I don't want to be someone who just does what people tell me to do." I'm certainly not a follower, and I have certain standards for myself. I'm not going to do that. But at the same time, I wanted them to like me. So teetering that line where I wasn't necessarily perceived as a nerd or someone who was uncool, but at the same time, people said, I still respect her because she's not gonna bend just because we tell her to do it.
mhm,
So, yeah, that was definitely tough for me. Now, in my sonnet, I write not to fret if you require more time to determine what should be your main role. When you feel that you're definitely primed, building a strong unit should be the goal. So, you previously stated in our first episode that your friends gave you an extra nudge and you stepped out of your comfort zone and you ran for student council. I'm just wondering, as you enter your last year of middle school and before you get into your high school years, do you feel any type of pressure to instantly know what your main role is in life, or are you comfortable with taking your time to figure it out?
I feel like sometimes like rushing to conclusions about who you want to be does not help you develop into like your top potential. I feel like sometimes that takes time to develop and from you doing different activities or like for example like joining different clubs, doing sports and all kinds of stuff that definitely helps you discover like the person you want to be and the person who you are eventually gonna be.
Mhm.
So I feel like there's really no reason to rush that. If you need more time figuring yourself out, then that's fine. Take more time to figure yourself out because eventually that's going to bring you into the person that you want to be and not the person that someone else rushed you into being.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I feel like it's definitely important to take time with yourself and like reflect, oh, I like doing this. Oh, this is the impact I want to make on people. And I feel
Mhm.
like that's definitely important to
Mhm.
do.
Good. What's the impact you wanna make?
I'm still figuring it
You
out.
chose like and when I say what's the impact, not necessarily what do you wanna do in life, but the overall impact. You may say, "Well, I'm still figuring things out,"
Yeah.
but the impact I wanna have on people is and then fill in the blank. So for me, the impact I wanna have on people and this is something that's been consistent even when I was younger and even now at my age is I want to have a positive impact. I never wanted people to feel bad or to feel negative energy after I left their presence.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons is because I've had people who have treated me in really mean ways.
Mhm.
And I said, I never want anyone to feel that way. So that was something that when I went through life when I was younger and even still now, I say that's the impact I wanna have, where it's not even a matter of me trying to be perfect,
Mhm.
but to be positive
Mhm.
towards people. So I'm wondering if you have something where maybe there's a word and you say, this is what I want people to get from me."
I would say positive, but I would also say people like such as my friends have said before that I'm a very open person. I'm like a very like positive person that you can come to if you need to talk to me about something. I don't really have my guard up like that. I'm
Yeah.
kind of like a very chill per se person. You want to be a person who like you can come to me about stuff and not feel like worried that I'm gonna judge you for anything because
Mhm.
like I'm not a very judgy person.
Mm.
If you need to talk to me about something, like I'm very open.
That's good,
So
and yeah.
kind of like open.
Yeah, and that's to me is something where you are still figuring out what you wanna do, and you can still have that because that's part of your character, so
Mhm.
I think that's awesome, and that's something that I definitely try to do is to be open,
Mhm.
like, with some more details from the poem, it says, "Sometimes it's not about visual skills, but what you possess beneath the surface."
Mhm.
So we're in a world of social media, TikTok, Instagram, where everything is about visuals and how things look, how people look.
Mhm.
How do you protect and cultivate the things that matter beneath the surface for you? I just got finished mentioning your character. So, how do you protect your character, your kindness, your positivity, your intelligence when we have all this visual stuff going on with social media?
Yeah, I feel like especially you kind of have to you can like be on social media and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can't like just go based on what people are doing on social media and say, "Oh, I should be like this, I should be like that." If you have like a special thing about you, like that's either like your character or just like the way you act in general, keep that. Just because you're good at sports or whatever you're posting online, like you're good at this, you're good at that, you could be like totally mean and what people would consider a bad person but still be good at all these things. So I feel like it's important to put your character first. And then if you're good at other things too, then that's great. But if you just have a bad character, then nobody's gonna want to be around you anyway, even if you are good at stuff. So like kind of like the saying, I forget how it goes, but it's kind of like if you're like beautiful on the outside and ugly on the inside, then it
Mhm.
doesn't matter or something like that.
Mhm.
But like I feel like that's a good statement to use because if you don't have a good character, then who's gonna wanna be around you anyway? People are like, oh my gosh, she's really mean, or I can't go to her about anything. I'm constantly being judged by her, but she's good at this, she's good at that, so I still talk to her anyway. That's not good. Like, you can have a good character and be good at stuff, but you can't have a bad character and be good at stuff. You kind of have to have a balance between that at
Mm-hmm.
least.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's better to have good character, and then you can also display the things that you're good at. If you have a good character and you're also on social media displaying the things that you're good at, like for example, like since I run track, if it was like me posting that I won a race or something, then that's different. But if you're just posting stuff on social media, like bragging to people that you're good at this, you're good at that, I do not feel like that's good, because that just shows that your character is not there. It
Mm-hmm.
just shows that the type of person you are is not the person who's more supportive of other people and really has that personality. It's more, hey, look at what I did. And I don't really like
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to do hope that that's what's conveyed with what I post of all of my different gym videos, that people aren't getting the impression that I'm just like, "Hey, look at me, look what
Yeah.
I did."
Yeah.
But that hopefully I'm inspiring people, and I'm like, "Wow, I really enjoy doing this," and maybe I'll reach someone else who's watching it. So, you've always been incredibly grounded, and you told me before that it's most important to listen to ourselves, and you said this in the very first episode that we did, that you're the person who's gonna be there for you. So, when you hit a valley, or maybe you haven't yet, but when you hit a valley in school, you have a bad day, a disagreement with a friend possibly. How do you look inside yourself to find devotion to keep climbing back up the hill? So if you're like, I'm just feeling really sad, or I'm upset about this,
Yeah.
what do you do to say, you know what, I'm going to bounce back, I'm going to climb out of this?
Yeah. So if you either reflect on days past where maybe something really great happened, or you did this, or I won this award, or this and that, if you have one bad day and you reflect on those days where they were like great and you did all these amazing things, and then you look at the days to come and see how many days that you have to build back up to doing those great things and get more awards and just be like a great person, even if you just had one bad day. One bad day does not define you. Like, so if you're having one bad day, like maybe like such as you said, like you got in an argument with a friend and you're not proud of the way you reacted, or like situations like that, one bad day does not define you. So the next day you might have reflected on the previous day and been like, oh, I don't think I should have reacted that way. And then you could try to build off of that and say, okay, well, I'm going to work on not reacting like that. I'm going to work on like keeping my cool when I get in like a tough situation with a friend and that type of stuff. So,
Okay, good, good. I like that idea,
yeah.
that because I think that sometimes we allow that one moment, that one transgression to define us. And that's certainly something I try to tell my students. If they have a bad day or something doesn't go right, that doesn't define you, that you have an opportunity to bounce back from that situation. So, in the first episode appearance with you, you beautifully stated that it doesn't matter what others think. And you even said that again,
Yeah.
because the person who's going to be there for you, to quote you, is you. But as a brand new 13-year-old, you are entering a phase when school, social media, and society are going to try very hard to define you and what a teenage girl should look and act like. So, how are you going to, or how are you currently planning to protect that independence and keep choosing your own standard over what society tries to choose for you and says this is what you should do or not do?
Yeah. So I feel like there are a lot of people in society, like you said, who will try to put stereotypes on you. But if you know the type of person that you are and you know you don't fit in that stereotype, keep doing what you're doing as long as it's something that's for the greater good. If you're doing something where you know, like, society's stereotyping it and maybe you may be under that stereotype and it's not for a good reason, then maybe reflect on that. But if you're doing something that's for the greater good and you're not fitting in that stereotype, then don't try to fit in that stereotype, because if you're doing something for the greater good, then keep doing it for the greater good. Like, keep that kind of independence and kindness and positivity that you have, and show the world what you can do with it. So, like, to kind of break those stereotypes up. So then the stereotypes will kind of be like, oh, wow, I've seen these young girls doing this and like volunteering and doing this and that. So I realized maybe, like, let's say maybe the stereotype was like that they're lazy or something. And then people on social media or just society in general will be like, well, they're not lazy. I see girls out there doing this. I see them helping peers. I see them helping the elderly, just volunteering in all kinds of fields. So if you know you're doing something for the greater good, keep doing it and put yourself out there, because eventually that will help the stereotypes diminish for people who are too scared to put themselves out there.
Mhm. And I love that answer, but I think that's gotta be really difficult, though, if you have someone in your ear, especially if it is your peers, and you're like, "Oh, what you doing that for? Oh, that's corny," or "I wouldn't be doing that." I get that a lot, even I know definitely as a teenager, where, like I said, I always stood my ground. Even if it meant I was gonna have fewer friends, I still stood my ground, but that doesn't mean that I wasn't conflicted
Hmm.
in saying to myself, I am doing, because I would say that I want to do something for the greater good. I want to make a difference. But in the process of doing that, I would find myself saying, I don't have any friends, or I have few friends,
Hmm.
or I don't think people like me, or wanting something more in terms of relationships with people, but then feeling like an outcast. And it can be difficult to feel like an outcast, especially in teenagehood, if you already are going through a lot of different changes and experiences, and then you throw that on top. So I am definitely proud of you for saying that if it's for the greater good. And I hope that if more serious moments should arise in your years to come, that you'll remember and reflect, as you said, reflect on this and say, I remember when I said, and so then you'll say, okay, I'm gonna keep going. It's for the greater good. So I think that's definitely something that hopefully a lot of people take away. So my poem, it talks about showing respect even within your squad or crew. In our first chat, we mentioned if you don't agree with someone, that it's okay and that you try your best to understand their perspective, but stand your ground at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, our conversations have gotten deep, and sometimes you're going to find they're going to get even more intense as you get older. Like I said, with my own experiences, how do you make sure that you're going to balance standing your ground and also making sure that other people still feel respected if you know that you disagree? And you mentioned that sometimes you may just not talk about a topic. Maybe it's something where they just keep bringing it up and you can't avoid it and it has to be addressed or discussed.
So I feel like there's ways to address things without making it like aggressive or violent anyway. Like, you can just approach it in a respectful way, like, hey, can we not talk about this? Or things like that. Like, there's no reason also to get like violent with people, or like make them feel like you're verbally attacking them or something like that for like any reason. So, especially if you're in a situation where you feel like a person keeps bringing things up, there's no reason to fight back, but so much. Like, there's ways of defending yourself that do not require you to like verbally attack a person or go back as hard as they're coming at you back at them. There's ways to be the bigger person and not kind of like diminish your self-worth going back and forth with them. So yeah, there's always ways to approach it in a respectful way, and there's really no reason to approach it in any way other than respectful way, because that's just diminishing your self-worth. That's making you look bad. That's not even making them look bad anymore. That's making you
Mhm.
look bad.
Mhm.
So if you want to kind of like disrespect your own morals and values just to go back at a person, there's no point in that. If you really are like a person with good personality, it would be in good taste to not go arguing back with the person, because that just shows that you're willing to throw your morals and your values in the trash just to go back and forth with somebody.
Mm.
And I don't feel like that's right. I feel
Mhm.
like there's other ways to do that than
Mhm.
going at someone.
Like what? I'm just wondering
I
because
don't face this stuff.
you're lucky. So, you are lucky so far. You haven't faced these. And the reason I'm saying that is because I remember getting good at repressing certain emotions that I thought were negative,
Mhm.
and I wanted to be positive all the time. And if I was faced with a conflict, and I'm not talking about a conflict from a friend necessarily, this could be someone who their intention is to be mean
Mhm.
and they're saying nasty things.
Mhm.
They're in my face about it. Or I've never been in a physical fight with anyone ever outside of sparring or something, but that's different. But certainly at your age, I've never been in a physical fight, but I have had people who wanted to fight me for different reasons. They just didn't like me. They thought I was better than them. And when I say they thought, I mean they thought that I thought I was better than them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know where they're getting this from.
Yeah.
Or just some people who
Mhm.
they maybe have some issues going on, maybe in their home
Mhm.
life or what have you, and they want to attack.
Yeah.
And I've never attacked back, but there were times when it was tough because I would have other people, my peers, say, you ain't gonna fight, you're not gonna do this and that, including Auntie. And so I think it was difficult for me to say, yes, I'm going to stand my ground. Yes, I'm going to take the high road. I'm going to be in alignment with what I think
Mhm.
is important because sometimes emotions do get the best of us.
Mhm.
And there were times when I would feel myself crying, and tears welling
Yeah.
up, or and it wasn't even that I just wanted to run away and say, I don't, but I would tell people, I don't want to fight you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is silly. But there are some people who, for whatever reason, they just keep coming at you and
Mhm.
keep coming at you. And that's why I ask you, well, what do you do? I mean, you haven't had that situation, and I'm grateful that you haven't. But I remember just saying to myself, I don't know what to do. And all I would do is I would try to avoid.
Mhm.
That's one of the main things I would go to is avoid conflict at all costs. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it does not work. And then I had to remind myself, okay, as long as you're doing what's right. And sometimes that would help me. So this past year, you mentioned doing track. So you've been doing track, you've been doing hurdles for the very first time, which awesome. And I think it's a perfect analogy, a perfect metaphor for life because literally the barrier, it's right in front of you and you have to clear it and you got to have the right stride for it as well. And so I'm just wondering for you, when you first stood on the track and you're looking at those hurdles, did it feel intimidating? What was the feeling that you had with that?
It didn't even feel intimidating to
No.
me because I feel like the hurdles are actually shorter than I feel confident jumping over.
Yeah.
So I already kind of had in my mind, like, I can do it, and I ended up being good at it. Like, if you have in your mind that you're better at something than you think you're going to be, then you're kind of like already connecting your mind to your body and like kind of telling your body, okay, I can do this. So then your body decides to do it, and then you're happily surprised. But
Mm.
I actually ended up being really
I like that, connecting the mind to the body.
Yes.
And I think that's probably the disconnect for some of us, where with me, I have not done hurdles, but I remember the first time doing a box jump, and in my mind, it wasn't even that I was saying I can't do it, I was just nervous. I don't know if I can do this. And now I'm doing them all the time, but initially, it was a matter of making that connection, as you said, with mind and body. And so I'm thinking about even like with hurdles in life, have there been any where you said, okay, this connecting the mind and body is a little difficult. And I don't mean an actual hurdle, but metaphorically speaking, something that you thought was going to be a challenge that you were going to have to jump over.
Okay, so wait, I actually can kind of think about this one. So last week of school, I had Spanish finals that I did not have like barely any notice about. So I kind of already had in my head like, oh my God, I'm gonna fail. So like we got to school like the day that we were about to take the test, and he said that it wasn't graded. So like even though I did all of this studying, and even after the studying, I was like, I felt semi confident. I studied enough to remember things, but I also felt like, oh, my memory is going to get the best of me once I'm doing this test. I'm not going to remember anything. But once we were like seated in the test and doing the test, he said it wasn't graded, but I still tried my best to do it anyway. And when I was going through the test, I actually realized like, oh, I would have been fine if this was graded. I actually did really well. So like you kind of have to push past those mental barriers, because if you, for example, let's say if I thought I was going to fail already anyway and then I just chose not to study, then I probably would have failed. But if you have in your mind, like even if you do have in your mind like, oh, I'm going to fail, and you still choose to study anyway and try to set it up for yourself not to fail, even if that's what your brain is thinking is going to happen, then you're setting yourself up for success in a way where it's like, okay, even though my mind's telling me this, I'm trying to prevent from what my mind's thinking. So I'm gonna do these different things and prove my brain wrong.
Hmm.
Your brain's not. That's
Yeah, that's true. That is so true.
right.
And whenever I hear that little voice that comes in and tells me I cannot do something or something's going to be difficult, I try my best to shut it off. And it doesn't always work. So I'll try to insert something positive in there and say, remember you did this last week. Remember you've been practicing for this. And I find that if I put some positive thoughts and stir them in with whatever that negative thought is about me thinking I'm going to fail or not be successful at something, it helps for me to swing to that other side and to eventually get there. So I like that. I like that. That's awesome. So what did pushing through fear, I'm wondering, like when you had that fear, like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to pass this test. What's going to happen? And you cleared it and you're like, wow, I actually would have done well on this. So when you pushed through that and that unexpected, because I remember us talking about that unexpected obstacle, when it popped up, what did it teach you? What did you learn from that experience?
I feel like I learned that even when you're not confident in something, like sometimes the things that you're not confident in are the things that you're best at.
Hmm.
So like sometimes people will automatically not be confident in something, and then they go out and try it, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know for all this time that I've been like great at this. Or that, for example, for me, oh, I remembered more Spanish than I thought I would, and my studying actually paid off. So, for a lot of people, I feel like they don't go out of their comfort zone much. And once you get out of your comfort zone, it's hard to go back into that bubble of safety that your brain tries to
Mm,
keep you in and tries to prevent you from trying things sometimes. But I feel like once you're out of your comfort zone, you stay out of it,
mm.
and that you keep pushing to strive for things that are farther and farther outside of your comfort zone. And I feel like that really pays off eventually.
Yeah. I like that. And I would definitely agree with that. From my experience, the more I challenge myself, whether it's physical challenges or mental challenges, the more I do that, I definitely see myself saying, I think I could do even more next time.
Yeah.
I think I can challenge myself even more. So it's amazing. Once that bubble's popped,
Yeah.
it's like, wow,
Look at all this stuff I can
exactly.
do.
So I talk about myself, as an adult, sometimes we're just absolutely terrified about failing or having a bad experience. So when you look at the different challenges and volleys that you've already faced, whether it was that tough assignment or what you thought was going to be a tough assignment, or even a sports setback where you're like, oh, geez, I didn't do as well as I thought I was going to in my head because I was in my head,
Yeah.
or just a rough day in general. How do you shift your mindset to see the low point through and to say, you know what, this is a worthwhile exploration. And I'm not going to look at it as a failure, but an opportunity for growth.
So like kind of going based off the saying or the abbreviation YOLO, which actually stands for you only live once. So I feel like when you go outside your comfort zone and you fail at something, it definitely teaches you like how to deal with failure and that failure is not always a bad thing. If you get something on the first try, great, but if you fail, then it kind of teaches you how to come back stronger for next time. Like for example, my track coach, like we didn't lose it all this season, so we got all wins. But there was one season where she said that the team kept losing and losing over again. She said that season taught her more than the winning seasons teach her.
Mm.
So learning how to handle losses and failures is definitely better for your mental. Of course, you're going to be excited if you win your game or if you jump over your obstacle and you get over your fear. But if you don't the first try and you come back from failure and you come back from a loss and you try again and you keep persevering through it, that's really the thing that builds your mental toughness and really eventually will help you in the long
Wonderful, wonderful. I definitely agree with that. I have
run.
learned so much from moments where it didn't go as planned necessarily. And not only that, I learned that there's value in failure. And failure, while a lot of times it has a negative connotation to it, it's anything but. It's what you choose to do
Yeah.
with that and how you grow and you learn from that experience. So that's awesome. And I definitely agree with your coach on that. So in my sonnet, I mentioned showing deference or simply respect and how it can direct you in ways you least expect collectively and in your squad, pack, or crew. You managed to have incredible balance this year. I mean, you're playing the violin in the orchestra, you got inducted in the National Junior Honor Society, you're running track, all while maintaining a 4.0 GPA. So I'm just wondering, like in the orchestra, you have to show total respect to the music and the rest of your section. You're creating a harmony. How does your role as a violinist in a large orchestra compare to being part of the track team or an academic group like the National Junior Honor Society?
So I feel like collectively as a group, it's definitely beneficial to have respect for one another because I feel like that does help you strive because you cannot be friends with someone, but you can have respect for them. And if you have respect for them, then that at least allows you guys to work together, work as a team, or like for example, for orchestra, like create a harmony as a group. So if you have respect for the other section, for example, with orchestra, then it's much easier to kind of blend together and create a harmony. And you can also create a harmony with like friendships and other groups, like just having respect for the other person that is to your left or your right or in front of you. Then that also does definitely help provide a stable platform to build off of just because of the fact that it's like you guys have already set a foundation solidifying that you guys are going to be respectful to each other and respectful to whatever you guys are doing. And that allows you to work together and collaborate effectively.
Nice, nice. Yes, yes. Now, I'm just wondering also, how do you adapt to your role within your crew? Are you, uh, when you say, you know what, I have a role as the violinist, how do you adapt to your role? And not even just as a violinist, but on the track team or in joining the honor society. How do you adapt to your role? And does your role change sometimes depending on who you're working with?
Yeah, it does. So, like, I'm gonna use track as an example
Mm-hmm.
just because that's a sport where there is a lot of different roles. So, for example, like before every meet, we get a meet lineup, and like I'm in relays a lot of the time, so I'm in relays with different people. So, a track team is an example of where you have to have respect for the person who is on your relay team or the people who are on your relay team. Because if you don't like someone in a relay, that's just set up for disaster. Especially with handoffs and stuff, those need to be clean and you need to be locked in with the person in front and behind you. So just knowing that you have respect for the other person, that also creates a kind of chemistry in a way that provides you a foundation to build off of and to help lift both of you guys up and help reach your goals.
Mm-hmm. Nice, nice. Yeah, definitely. And because I couldn't imagine, like, if I didn't like the person who I had to pass the baton to, and oh, and you're slamming in their hand or something crazy, so that, I mean, I wouldn't purposely slam something in someone's hand, even if I didn't like them,
Yeah.
because we're still a team. But yes. So just going back to the sonnet, I said sometimes it's not about visual skills, but what you possess beneath the surface. So in our first episode, you talked about being an A student, and now that you've officially been inducted into the National Junior Honor Society with a 4.0, uh, on the surface, people might just see that as, oh, that's a perfect report card, or, there's some type of award or accolade associated with that. But I know firsthand that the sheer devotion it takes behind closed doors to keep up those grades while juggling sports and music, which I was not doing. I was just I was just in the academics. I didn't have sports and music going with. So when you look at your induction, and we've had this conversation where you kind of just like, I'm just being inducted, but I told you it's a big deal, and I'm very proud of you. But in looking back on it now, what are you most proud of that people don't see on the surface? Not even just with the induction, but just your experience this school year.
I'd say I'm most proud of juggling like academics and track because for track a lot of the time we got dismissed out early from a lot of our classes and obviously a lot of my teachers were not excusing that work so you had to make it up on your own time. Now luckily I did not have homework like that at all this year, so I just had to read sometimes for English, but for a lot of my classes I did have to like kind of make that work up as homework. And there were some teachers another hurdle that I had to, like, kinda, like, get over was the fact that, like, at school, sometimes even if you do the work, if you're missing the class for a sport or something, sometimes they just don't count the work anyway. So that's another obstacle, but I feel like I'm most proud of myself for juggling those two because even though I do music too, I feel like music is built into my schedule, so it's not anything where it's outside of my academic time because I technically have it as a graded academic class. But I feel like track was definitely like
Mm,
an extra thing on my plate because I had practice every day, which was 2 hours after school ended, and then I was taking the bus home, so I want to get home until like 6 o'clock. And then when I got dismissed early from like school for track meets, and then I got home, and then it was maybe 5:30, which is still later than usual, and then I'd have to make up my work for my classes that day. So I'm proud that I still maintained my good grades and didn't let them slip just because I had a lot more going on,
mhm.
because that shows how far I can push myself and that I can still achieve things like even when I have a lot going on.
Good, good. And because I think that there could be someone who could easily use that as an excuse or a reason not to push
Yeah.
as hard. And so I am glad that you said, for me, I'm going to keep on doing what I need to do, and here we are. So the poem, it talks about also what you possess beneath the surface versus visual skills. So for you, what does a successful day look like? I know that you're on break now, so
Yeah.
let's think of a successful day when you were in school.
Successful day. Honestly, successful day for me is just a day. I won't say where we don't have a lot of work, but not where we have like two packets or anything.
Mhm.
And just getting through my work, getting A's on my assignments. So getting through my work and doing it well and interacting respectfully, we've been talking about with my friends and my peers, and then maybe accomplishing something new in track when I was doing track after school. So maybe accomplishing that, like dropping my time, and that's probably a pretty successful day for
Okay,
me.
alright.
Pretty basic, but
Awesome. Oh, that's good. Sometimes I like basics, so that's just me. But a lot of times we may look at those outward things like a good grade or praise from a teacher, or even you mentioned this earlier, that internal feeling.
Mhm,
You know that you stayed true to yourself and you've been respectful
mhm.
towards others. So awesome. So how the sonnet ends, it says, "Are leaders made or by others chosen?" So I want to come back to student council for a moment. And you mentioned this in the previous episode about your advisor and some people who were a part of student council saying you can't focus on the few people who might be hating on you and that there's 100 other people who may still be in support. So when it comes to being a leader among your peers, do you think that leaders, they decide to step up? Or do you think that they become leaders because the pack naturally trusts them or chooses to trust them?
I think it depends.
Yeah.
So I feel like leaders are sometimes made or developed if they see things going around that they don't, and they know they have it in them to be a leader, but it just takes that little bit to kind of step up and decide to be that leader that they always had within them. But I feel like it also is chosen sometimes because, for example, like student council, we had to submit essays and our request of why we should be in student council. So in that case, our advisor chose the people that he thought fit the council best. So there's instances where leaders are chosen, and there's instances where leaders are kind of formed and they form within themselves. But I feel like also in friend groups, like leaders can be chosen
Mhm.
because if there's someone who is constantly showing up for everyone in the friend group, is constantly doing the heavy lifting, say like plan hangouts or stuff like that a leader can be silently established within the friend group, like, oh, you want to plan something? Let's ask so and so because they're gonna know how to proceed, how to plan, and get everyone on board. But yeah, it definitely depends on what type of environment you're in, whether it's a matter of you rising up to be a leader or a matter of you being in a club or a friend group where it's kind of silently or verbally established that you're the leadership of the group.
Mhm. Good, good. So even though in being part of student council, by default, that is a leadership role, but do you look at yourself as a leader?
Sure. I mean, I feel like real leaders do not recognize themselves as leaders.
Hmm.
If you're a real leader, then other people will recognize you.
Okay. So it's as though the the person's not saying, "I'm a leader, look at
Yeah,
me." It's other people saying,
that they're a leader.
"I got it." Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're saying that you're a leader, then that's just kind of cocky.
Hmm. It reminds me of this episode that I watched, and it was Married at First Sight. And this lady, she just was so mean and horrible to the guy she was paired with. And the phrase she said incessantly, almost every single episode, "But I'm a nice person. but I'm a nice person. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
but you're not behaving. Now, mind you, the producers maybe edited some footage where it made her seem even meaner, possibly. But I said, there's no way they could craft all of this stuff that she's doing, that this is from footage. So even if they edit it, she has to give them the footage to work with. And so every time when she would say, but I'm a nice person, and I'm thinking, then show you're a nice person. So I could see that where a person says, I'm a leader because I'm a leader and you should put me in charge.
Yeah.
And people are like, are you a leader?
When you're
So,
saying that, you're not
yeah,
much of a leader. Like, I
yeah.
feel like, especially if you're saying you're a leader, then who's there to vouch that you're a leader? Like, it's different if you're like in your head or something and you're saying, I'm trying my best to have qualities of leadership, but you're not going around like when they're choosing leadership roles for like a project or something, or just talking about leadership in general and you walk around saying, I'm a leader, I'm a leader. Yeah, that's just cocky. That just shows that you're not a leader.
Mm,
If you're really a like really good leader and you're designated as a leader among some groups, then other people will like certify that you're a leader. And it doesn't take you saying that to show
mm.
that you're a leader.
And with you saying that, it makes me think back to when I was younger. And now I've had this smile on my face because I think I oftentimes was designated as a leader. I never said I was a leader,
Yeah.
but whenever I was in groups, Tanya, can you help with this?
Mhm.
Or can you do that?
Mhm.
Or I was selected a lot of times from the teacher. And looking back, I can think it was related to academics in that I was studious, but it was more than that. A lot of times it was because I was nice to people and I had a way of making people feel comfortable. Even if I was uncomfortable or I was nervous, I still had a way of helping people feel comfortable because, of course, there's different types of leaders and different types of leadership roles. So, yeah, that's I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. So I'm just wondering, where do you see yourself in moving forward as you go? I mean, we're on break as you go to 8th grade. What do you have? What's chosen to use the title of the poem for you?
Hmm. I don't know. I just want to continue to keep my grades up. Uh, I think I will do student council again. I think it's important to also have the eighth graders on there as like kind of their foundation because everyone who was on there had like great qualities of leadership this year, but it especially helps the seventh graders that are going to be coming in to our school to see role models of leadership and then how to pursue that for the rest of their seventh grade year and then going into eighth grade too, because
Mhm.
that definitely helps to have like leadership in the school and have people who you know are the pillars of your leadership.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm gonna do student council again. I'm definitely doing track again. I don't know if I'm gonna do another sport. I thought about basketball, but I'm a little
Oh, you
nervous,
got to hide.
but we'll see.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that might be
That's plenty.
yeah.
Oh, and then of course orchestra.
Orchestra
Yeah.
and I think I might be in vocal music this year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Vocal music too. Okay, yeah, that's plenty.
yeah.
Yes, you've chosen plenty. So, but Quinn, thank you so much for sitting down with me again and just watching you navigate through your path with such self-assurance and just even sitting here talking with you. I'm in awe, and not even just as your mom, but just in seeing you as a 13-year-old and you're just on it. And so, I got to confess that I was not where you were. And I've said this in the first episode. I was certainly not where you were when I was your age. And it makes me incredibly proud. No pressure. But it makes me incredibly proud to see where you are currently and just in knowing where you're headed in the future. And you definitely are chosen. So, and to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this special milestone episode of Tricks My Dog Taught Me. And whether you're figuring it out, what your role is in your pack, or climbing a few hills of your own this week, remember to look at what you possess beneath the surface. And be sure to check out my podcast on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Tricks My Dog Taught Me. And just keep in mind that you can always drop a comment and tell us what dog breed you might represent and what your personality might have been as a 13-year-old. And share this podcast and this episode with your family and friends. And as I learned from my little guy, Zach the Toy Poodle, there will come a time when you are chosen to lead. Don't just think, be prepared. And I hope that you choose to come back to my podcast when I discuss week 27's poem, Move Together. Take care, and I will see you next week.